Did you know that in Mexico, the eerie call of an owl in the night can send chills through entire communities? It's not just superstition. It's a deeply rooted fear tied to one of the most sinister legends you've ever heard. Stick with me, because by the end of this story, you'll find yourself looking at owls differently forever. Welcome to the Nightside Archive. Tonight's tale is known as the Silent Watchers, Mexico's mysterious owls. So, grab a seat, dim the lights, and prepare for a journey into the macabre. Picture a moonless night in rural Mexico. The townsfolk whisper to one another, warning of strange occurrences. They speak of large, shadowy birds with silent wings and piercing eyes that seem to follow your every move. But these aren't just ordinary birds. They're something much more terrifying: the Lechuza. The Lechuza is said to be a shape-shifting witch, a bruja, who takes the form of a colossal owl. This legend is centuries old and can be traced back to a mix of indigenous beliefs and colonial-era distrust of women perceived to have mystical abilities. The Lechuza are said to stalk their prey in the dead of night. Their purpose: vengeance, terror, and sometimes even abduction. One of the most chilling accounts happened outside the small town of Nuevo Laredo. The story goes that Carmela, a widowed seamstress, fell into despair after her only child was taken from her during a treacherous storm. Shunned by many in the town, she was accused by neighbors of bringing bad omens. Though she lived on the outskirts of town, rumors swirled that she had turned to dark practices to cope with her grief. One fateful night, Carmela disappeared. Not long after, townsfolk began hearing a high-pitched, mournful screech just outside their homes in the midnight hour. Nearby livestock were found mysteriously dead, and children reported hearing whispers in a language they couldn't understand. Everyone blamed the Lechuza. "It's Carmela," they said. "She's returned, and she's not alone." Legend states that the Lechuza's call mimics the cries of a baby. Unsuspecting victims, often alone or traveling late at night, hear the sound and instinctively move closer, thinking they are about to rescue a helpless child. But the cries are only an illusion. As you approach, the terrifying, winged creature reveals itself, swooping down with a force that shatters silence and often lives. But this isn't the end of the legend. Those who see a Lechuza and live to tell the tale often report a series of tragedies. Crops fail, relationships crumble, and inexplicable shadows fill every corner of their lives. The presence of a Lechuza casts a long and dark shadow, an inescapable curse. Still, it's not just rural Mexico where this legend lingers. In modern cities like Monterrey and Guadalajara, urban legends of Lechuza sightings have sparked widespread fear. Social media posts often claim to capture unexplainable flying shapes, emitting guttural sounds, and disappearing into the darkness. Images and stories are shared thousands of times, and the hashtag Lechuza terror trends regularly. Even skeptics find the stories difficult to ignore. Is it group hysteria, an ancient, deeply ingrained cultural phenomenon? Or could these monstrous creatures truly exist? And the fears don't stop there. Some believe Lechuzas are guardians brought to life during rituals gone wrong. A modern twist in these legends suggests that meddling with the dark arts or Ouija boards brings them into existence. While no concrete evidence supports these claims, the psychological horror of the idea spreads like wildfire in communities. Of course, Science has its explanation. Many rationalists claim nocturnal birds like barn owls or great horned owls, with their eerie calls and glowing eyes, can mislead an unsuspecting mind. Given the fear amplified by superstition, these birds could easily be mistaken for something otherworldly. But ask any believer and they'll tell you, there's no mistaking a lechuza when she sets her sights on you. Still not convinced? Let's dive into another story, this time from San Luis Potosi. A driver, 35-year-old Arturo Lopez, was traveling late at night on a remote road. Exhausted from a long day, he barely noticed the faint cries of an infant as he rolled down the windows of his truck to let the cool desert air in. But then, curiosity turned into fear. The cries grew too loud, too desperate, entirely unnatural. Arturo slammed on the brakes and saw it. Perched on a nearby cactus was an impossibly large bird, its massive wings shrouded in shadows, and its glowing eyes locked directly onto him. Arturo stayed in his truck, frozen and gripping the steering wheel. The bird leaned forward as if observing him, and he swears he heard a voice, faint and raspy, calling his name. Overwhelmed, he floored the gas pedal, leaving dust and the spectral creature behind. Since then, Arturo has never traveled at night alone. More chilling still is the belief that you shouldn't whistle at night in Mexico. Some say whistling can summon these spectral owls, offering them a chance to call to you in return. Others tie the habit to dark folkloric taboos. Whatever the case may be, if you visit the regions steeped in Lechuza lore, you'll notice the nights are eerily quiet. Nobody dares risk drawing attention. Interestingly, stories about witch owls are not unique to Mexico. Similar accounts exist in Native American folklore, in the Caribbean, and even parts of Europe, where shape-shifting spirits take the form of giant birds. This global resemblance adds to the mystery. Just how universal are fears surrounding shadows and the unknown? But let's bring it back to the Lechuza. If you found yourself wandering alone on a dusky road, would you risk approaching the sound of a baby crying? Would you be able to convince yourself it's just an owl? Or would a tiny part of you wonder if something much more fiendish was lurking in the trees above? Whether the Lechuza is a myth born of heartbreak, an exaggerated cautionary tale, or something far more real, it remains a chilling reminder of the thin line between the seen and the unseen. Even in today's rational modern societies, the stories persist, keeping people wary and watchful. Before we sign off tonight, let us leave you with an unsettling message. If you ever hear eerie whispers or ghostly cries in the darkness, remember the tale of the Lechuza. What you believe might just determine what you see next. Thank you for joining us at the Nightside Archive. Hit that subscribe button for more bone-chilling stories from around the world. Until next time, sleep with one eye open, and don't forget, the darkness always has its watchers. Good night.